Hello, everyone. Welcome to another one of our heart-powered, inspiring interviews. And as you know, every time I have an amazing guest. And today, again, she's a wonderful friend. We know each other from a community called Evolutionary Business Council, and we have common friends. And who is she? Well, she is, her name, first of all, she is Christina Powers. And as her name is saying, she's really a powerful lady. She's the founder of ASA Adirondack, a sanctuary in the mountains of New York, where she supports leaders, executives, and change makers in rejuvenating body, soul, and psyche in rustic luxury. Who wouldn't want to have, one of these? She's the founder of the Philosopher's Camp, an immersive nature experience for leaders. So, you're gonna get to know her, and I'm sure you want to check out the Philosopher's Camp and see if that is something for you eventually. And she really also had 30 years of expertise in a variety of fields in marketing and branding, PR, and fundraising, alchemized with training in mystical traditions. She's an ordained minister and death doula. She also guides clients into places in their souls that need the most love and tending. Christina also calls forth fierce guardians of wonder and wisdom to walk tall upon this earth. Well, that is such a promising introduction, Christina. Welcome. So great to have you.
Thank you, Monique. I'm really glad to be with you.
And I love how you combine, like the tangible, the marketing, PR, and fundraising with the, you know, intangible world. But again, the intangible world often is more tangible than what we see as the tangible world, often enough, right? How you bring both worlds together in such a powerful way. I love it. So why don't you just share with us? We always want to know, like, what are you doing in your life, in your business, with you speaking right now, to again bring everything to a different level? What are your top three?
Top three. Well, one is just in the past. I just took a group of 10 people to Peru for a week of sacred travel and transformation. That took basically the whole month of May. And I do that regularly. The next one will be Ireland in 2023. So I'm just beginning to think about that. The other hot thing we're doing is a huge project. Here on our land, there's a trinity. We have 100 acres. My husband is the gardener of the land, and I'm really the custodian caretaker. And then we have the land herself that is very potent and powerful. And we will be the seventh legacy labyrinth in the world. We applied for and were accepted into a global organization that very intentionally has outdoor walking labyrinths that are connected to a grid for healing and peace for the planet. So we have 20 volunteers coming in a couple of weeks from all over the US. We just had 20, 40, 60 tons of stones delivered. I was racing up the road to talk to the truck driver before this interview in my skirt, running. But we're building a 70-foot diameter walking labyrinth. It's contemplative walking. We can talk more about it. It's not a maze. It's one path in, one path out, based on the medieval labyrinth in Chartres Cathedral in France. And so we're creating this for all to come from anywhere, to leave our labels, our beliefs, what we look like, what we think, what we feel, leave it all at the door and come catch some balance and come catch some contemplation on what will be the largest labyrinth in the region of New England by the time we're done. It's a huge project. So it's taking a lot of my time. And the third thing is I'm in lots and lots of conversations for the Philosopher's Camp. The next two are this September, and then we have a reunion camp. So a lot of energy is going into that right now too. So those are my three hot projects.
Right. Okay. And the question really very much is, yes, what are your hot projects? But also, everyone that's listening here wants to know what can they do in their business based on what you're doing to bring their own business to the next level. So, I hear that you're running a Philosopher's Camp, and every single thing you're saying sounds really so amazing and juicy. And there's a lot of people out there that want to create events and retreats and things like that. How are you, how did you start creating these retreats? How did you get into the fields of creating retreats? And how did you turn them into such an amazing success story?
Yeah. So it's one of the things that I'd love to share with your audience is that very often those things that are our superpowers, we don't recognize because they're what's like right in our field of obviousness. Like we can't see them, the fish in the fishbowl can't see itself. So the truth is I started creating events when I was about 7 years old, and I didn't really connect the dots until my early 40s. And I was always creating events, dinner parties in high school. I was assistant director of the play or this or that, like just always wanting to pull people into community. Then in my career, in addition to what you mentioned, my duties for the Red Cross, which were significant, included, galas that would raise $250,000 in a night to an intimate 6-person breakfast with the CEO. So I've always been doing it naturally. And then I was able to do it professionally in a lot of my roles in my nonprofit career. What I would say is what makes the retreats I do magical are that I pay attention to every small detail. And a lot of people don't do this. So it does matter that the napkins are turned the right way. It does matter that the little things are tended to, that everyone has a bouquet of flowers, that all of these little details and nurturing things happen, because often our retreat participants are making all these judgments, right? They're making judgments about how safe they are, if they're going to be well cared for. They want to be safe psychologically, they want to be safe environmentally, and unconsciously these scripts are running and they're checking things off on a list, right? So I have a lot of colleagues who have asked me that question because I do retreats often on a shoestring budget. And the things that we bring to nurture people, bring them to such a space of deep restfulness and safety, that's the best thing you can do and create. And so the details matter. For instance, anyone who comes to Philosopher Camp, we want to know their favorite foods. And I've imported like Japanese twig tea. I've brought things so that we surprise, well, now it's not a surprise, I've told your people, but we surprise people with little luxuries the whole way through. And it makes a huge difference. So never overlook the details. I've been criticized for being a micromanager. It's not that. There's a reason, there's a purpose, there's a psychology behind everything I do.
Yes, great. Okay, so what I hear is, again, you just really pay attention to a lot of details, right? And you say you bring in luxury, and it's such a beautiful approach, like what you're saying. A lot of event organizers did say, what are you not eating compared to what is your favorite food, right? I mean, it's again looking at all these little details, right? Like how we sleep, how we eat, how we are learning, how we're taking in things, right? All of that gives us a lot of clues on, how to create a retreat like that, right?
Yeah.
So, when you started creating a retreat, and it looks like you've been a natural in your whole life in this, right? I want to come back to that later. But, again, how did you get going when you created your retreat, your first retreat or event in your business? How did you promote it? How did you, that's also a big question a lot of people always ask is like, how do I get going? And I mean, I've been running retreats, so, but I'd like to hear from your own experience, Christina.
Sure. So in fact, the way that you and I met was through Evolutionary Business Council. And I spend a lot of time nurturing and building relationships. And I'm naturally, again, it's something I love to do. It comes very easy to me. So my husband and I actually, just for a little context, it is now over 5 years ago that we left our huge house in a suburb of Albany, the city, the capital of New York State in the US. And we sold our big lifestyle and we moved to the mountain with a small house, 700 square feet for 3 of us. because we knew that the comfort was killing us, right? So we expanded ourselves and we traded, square footage of a house for 100 acres. And while I was here, I always knew I'm very intuitive, and I kept seeing groups, very unusual groups of people sitting around a campfire, cross-pollinating ideas, sharing. I didn't really know what it was. And then I learned about an event that happened deep in these mountains in 1858 with Ralph Waldo Emerson, who's a well-known American transcendentalist. And these philosophers and thought leaders of their time, on the eve of the Civil War in America, went deep into the woods to rejuvenate. They made scientific discoveries. They cross-pollinated ideas, right? They played. And the moment I heard about that camp, I knew that's what I was supposed to do. So the idea came to me in 2016. I didn't execute it until 2018. And actually, one of my colleagues, Barbara Whitman, who's also German in the Evolutionary Business Council, worked side by side with me to help me bring forth my vision. And I'm eternally grateful to her for that. And what we did was we just had conversations. We invited people into the idea. We came up with a pilot price, which was about 50% off what retail would be. And we had one-on-one conversations with the network we knew. And we had 8 people who said, yeah, I'll come play. I'll experiment. So that was how it started. And it's really, Philosopher's Camp is specialized because the chemistry is so important of who's here. And it's application only. And you kind of have to know about it to know about it. So for me, I'm not out there advertising it. But what I am doing is I make sure that I have 5 new people I'm trying to meet every week when I'm in that place in my office. I'm trying to meet 5 new people, because those that want to come to Philosopher's Camp pretty much self-select themselves. Yeah. And the other thing I do, Monique, which is helpful, is I don't base my revenue model off of how many people I have come to Philosopher's Camp, because that changes the conversation and it puts pressure on me to be selling. And that's really not what it's about. So if you can do a retreat without that pressure, and if you can be thinking 6 months ahead, 9 months ahead, and networking, you're networking and networking and networking, they'll fill themselves.
Yes. I love that. And I love how you're saying that you're not measuring your success only on the number of people that came to the event, right? Again, because, we are running a heart-powered business, right? I mean, we are actually also coming, like you are coming from a place of service. You're creating an opportunity for people to really, bring themselves, in our case, their business and their speaking, in your case, themselves personally, and their business and whatever else around them, and their mission to a different level, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Right. And again, it's one person at a time that we make a difference, right? And I think, again, when people feel that, as you say, A, they self-select themselves, and B, they fall in love with our intention, or they connect with our intention, because it's not our intention, it's a connected intention between ours and theirs, right? I love that. And I love also what you said earlier, and I could talk to you forever about how to run these amazing events and retreats, because it sounds like you do it really in a magical way, Christina. And every one of you, okay, that's listening today, check out Philosopher's Camp, right? I mean, I definitely want to come and play with you one day, Christina. But I have another question. You said something really powerful earlier, where you said, often we are not recognizing our superpowers, we're taking them for granted, right?
Correct.
So how did you find out that this is your superpower and that's what you want to do?
So it was actually reflected back to me by a colleague who came to Philosopher's Camp, and she said, I've never experienced anything like this. This is really, remarkable. And what I do is always eclectic. It's eclectic, it's unusual. But she used the word sublime. And I didn't realize until that moment, I actually zoomed all the way back to my childhood. Right. And I went, oh, right. I get it, because I'm driven to, let's put it this way. I light up. I'm in my essence. I'm in my passion when I see people connecting and community and them having this deep experience. And then I laugh because they're being transformed even when they don't know it. And then the intuitive seer in me is delighted, right? So really it took a colleague saying to me, you know, you're really good at this, like really, really good at this. I didn't get that. I really didn't get that. I thought I was any other run-of-the-mill event planner. So then I actually started asking people, and I was blown away. I didn't recognize it. And that's why our superpowers, they're not even things we take for granted. Like, I didn't even know it to take it for granted. Like, I didn't see it.
Right. But, you know, I think also you say that, you know, you recognize your superpower clearly when someone mirrored it back to you. And then when you started, you know, reflecting on what was said to you, and then you saw the dots, right? You connected the dots into your childhood and everything else. But I think it might not even have come to this point if you wouldn't have had that impulse. And you took that impulse, like in 2016, I think you said, you took it seriously, right? And then you kind of went forward with it, right? So often it's these kind of impulses that just ring true to us, and we need to follow and try things out. And then when you try it out, we recognize, is it for us or is it not for us, right? Like, you know, again, you didn't only recognize that that's what you love doing, but it was even mirrored back to you as a confirmation. Yes?
Yeah, I call it, for me, it's following the illuminated breadcrumbs. And I get very, very still. And the other thing I noticed about Philosophers Camp, and we get in our own ways. I'm a prolific creator, very creative, marketing, design. I'm an artist, I'm a musician, I do all these things. What I noticed, because I'm in touch with my body and I'm also into energy and an energy healer, is that Philosophers Camp came up and through my body and, you know, through my heart chakra and out my throat. It wasn't one of those brilliant marketing schemes I concocted up here with my intellect that I wanted to force into the world. It told me what it wanted to be. And I listened. That was right. That was the miracle, was that I listened. And I learned over the years. I've been a seasoned meditator, blah, 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 with all that mystical training. I've developed a capacity to get very still and to listen.
And I love that concept of following the illuminated breadcrumbs, right? Because they're all there. We just need to follow it, right? Yeah. I love it. Great. So, you know, also, I know that you love to do different things again and again in different ways, right? But there's probably some things you love doing quite regularly, right? And then whatever we do regularly, like your meditation or other things, right? When we do them regularly, again, one breadcrumb becomes a bigger one, becomes a bigger one, becomes a path, right?
Yeah.
You know, and again, whatever we do regularly becomes a habit, and habits actually, you know, are the seeds for success, right? Are the seeds for results, right? So what is one of the habits that you have that, you know, contributed to where you are today?
Yeah, thank you. So I am also a recovering type A personality, right? Very competitive, very goal-oriented, you know, very measuring stick. During COVID, I actually got very sick, and I was sick for a year, and it turned out that I had serious undiagnosed Lyme disease. But what the gift of that was, is that now, so a habit every day is literally, I still work like a mad woman. I'm super focused. I get very deep into what I do. But the moment my body says to me, we're done, whether I'm on the phone with someone or I'm writing an email, I excuse myself. I get up and I go walk on my road, or I go sit in the porch and look in nature. So I've learned to not push my body. For years, I told my body to be quiet. That what I was doing had to be done. It was more important. Now I really operate slowly. So the habit is, I listen, I get up, I disconnect, and then I reconnect with nature. And I do that every day. It's how I run my business.
I love
it's
it.
a profound change, profound.
And I do know what you're talking about because I love nature and I love hugging trees and I love walking barefoot in, on grass and all of these beautiful things, right? And even just standing still a moment and just feeling the sun on your face or even the rain on your face or in your, on your body is just beautiful, right? So I know what you're talking about because that really also, lifts me and my energy up in beautiful, beautiful, powerful ways. So Christine, you and I, we can keep talking forever together, right? But I'd like to also know, and we're asking that question every single time because inspiration is great, right? But again, how many times have we been inspired and then the day after we forgot about it? But when we take action on inspiration, then it starts landing. Yes, we learn something when we take action on it right away. We remember, right? So I'd like to know from you, what is one thing that our audience that is here with us right now can do today to turn our inspiration from our conversation today into an action so they really, benefit. And, again, they step up with their business and their being as well.
Yeah. So when I work with clients in my marketing and graphic design background, I'm an expert in branding, and I work with clients to get to the soul of their brand. And so one of the things that I share with them is that we are the business is us. We're in this everlasting Mobius loop back and forth, and one is just merely an expression of the other. So if we're off and out of alignment, then that's going to happen to our creations, right? So it may sound unusual and counterintuitive, but I would challenge everyone, like as soon as you're done listening to this, to do what Monique and I do and take yourself into nature. Just try it. Just see how you feel. Because when we operate from in a space of frequently rebooting our brain, which nature does, and lifting our vibration, which if you're not a student of energy, that just means you feel good. You feel good all over. Everything is right with the world, right? That's the place to take action from. And I have a second thing that popped in. I've learned when I tell too many people what I'm up to, a part of my personality feels like I've achieved it. So hold close the beginnings of your creation. Don't tell too many people. Don't tell too many people, because it spills the energy and it begins to diffuse that driving passion you have, because at some level the brain can't distinguish our creations from being in the physical and being in the mental. And I've blown some projects that way.
Beautiful. And I love the Reboot Your Brain exercise. And I also love your extra special, bonus hint on don't diffuse the energy. Don't talk to too many people about your new idea, because it's so true. People have the gift to talk us out of it. And that is the side of our illuminated crowns, right? So, I so resonate with what you're saying. Well, Christina, I know there's a lot of people right now that say, I want to know more about the Philosopher's Camp. I want to connect with Christina. Where can they find you? How can they connect with you?
Super simple. ChristinePowers.com.
Good. That's easy enough. ChristinePowers.com. All right. Okay. But again, take the opportunity, really check her out. Okay. Check out the Philosopher's Camp. See if that is something for you. As you could already, I think you already got a glimpse that it is a really juicy experience, right? And it's just, again, as you said, it's rebooting not only our brain, but we need to reboot our whole body, mind, and soul from time to time, right? And I know your Philosopher's Camp is doing just that and bringing everyone to a different level again, right? So check it out, ChristinaPowers.com, easy to remember. Okay, check her out right away. And again, don't forget, play with us today, take action, start rebooting your brain and tell us how it's going and what it does to you, right? So yeah, thank you so much, Christina, for being with us today and for inspiring everyone, right? And thank you all for being with us today, for being such loyal, listeners, watchers of our interview series. Thank you for allowing us to inspire you. Christina, is there something like a final word of wisdom or inspiration you want to share with everyone to round it off?
Yeah, I think the greatest gift you can give the world is the self-permission to be who you really are.
Yeah, it's actually quote material, I always say, right? Okay, the greatest gift you can give to the world is just be who you really are. That's powerful. Thank you, Christine, for being on with us today. Thank you all for being on with us today. As I always say, go out there, keep doing your magic, right? Again, do what Christine is saying, follow your illuminated breadcrumbs. I love that one, right? And take action on it and share with us. What is it? What is happening? You know, what ideas do you have? When you feel ready, you want to share, and you know, we are here to cheer you on, to support you in any way we can. So let's be in touch. See you again soon at another Heart Powered Inspired interview. In the meantime, just keep doing your magic. As you always say, speak up, scale up, impact the world. We'll be back soon. Okay. Have a great one, everyone. Cheers.